What's good with everybody? It's Clenz coming at you yet again with another topic that obviously is too deep for TV and too raw for most people's lives. But nevertheless, those that could handle it, those that embrace it, those that could feel and vibe with me, please listen because this is something that I feel is pretty significant, man, and has influenced my life in countless ways. And that subject is supernatural experiences. You know, I think that supernatural is pretty much in a general sense something that cannot be explained rationally, something that cannot be observed through factual and conventional scientific observation. It is something that you know is beyond natural understanding. And I had supernatural experiences my whole life, not super significant in compared to other people I've talked to, and in comparison to other people that obviously I've seen on television and read about and et cetera, et cetera. But I like to share the ones that I've had in my life. And the majority of them have been positive, all right? In total, I could count, I've had 4. 3 of them were very significant, but one of them was scary. It was pretty fucking scary, and it was actually the first one I had. So the first one I had, man, I was like, I don't even know, maybe 11, 12 years old, and I was at my mom's house. So I might have been older too because I was there by myself. Okay, so I don't know. There was no, my brothers were long gone by that time, so I was just there solo bolo, doing my thing, and I was taking a shower, right? Since no one was home, man, I was slapping the hell out of some Eminem, man, some old Eminem, probably, Marshall Mathers LP or, some type of shit I was into back in the day, right? And so I was sitting there, I was taking a shower, what have you, and I heard this knocking, on the bathroom door. And obviously the explanation in my mind was that, okay, my mom's home, my dad's home, whatever, and they're telling me to turn that shit down because, what grown-ass adult wants to hear some loud noise mixed with profanity? And so I got out the shower, right? And I started to proceed to turn down the volume of the radio. And they just kept knocking, and I found it very strange that this was taking place because it kept knocking and it kept getting louder. And I could literally see, I remember seeing the door vibrating from this knocking. And I remember getting irritated too because I was like, all right, I'm gonna turn this shit down. Like, just give me a minute, right? I'm trying to get out the shower, get myself together. And I turned it down, and lo and behold, when I opened the door, no one was there. And at the time, I was not even really remotely into, spirituality, occult knowledge, anything of this nature. And, for lack of better words, I was freaking the fuck out, right? I called my mom. Of course, what can you tell a son, anybody, any child that, experienced what I went through? There's probably just, at the time trying to, justify this. Like, maybe you were just hearing things, blah, blah, blah. So that was my first experience, and that was pretty freaky. Let me see, my second experience, my second experience was, there was a phase in my life, I was probably, who knows, maybe 18 years old, okay? And at the time, I remember kind of embracing the Judaic Christian belief, right? And I had this commitment in my mind to pray before and after I eat my food. And I was home by myself yet again. And now that I think about it, all these times pretty much are when I'm by myself. But anyway, I remember eating, right? I remember it was like some chicken and rice. I was having some chicken and rice, and I forgot to pray before eating, before having the meal. And, I stopped, right? And I immediately started to pray, pretty much just saying, sorry for, forgetting, to commit to this conviction that I promised you, God, to pray before I eat my food. And while this was happening, and mind you, this was a very genuine prayer. Like I was really, sincere and apologetic. And something, a power, just overtook my entire body, right? And, it was pretty much so overwhelming that it made me drop to my knees. Mind you, it wasn't like a negative feeling at all. As a matter of fact, it was more of like an orgasmic feeling, throughout my whole body. Like every single nerve on my body on the inside and out was just busting a nut, dude. It felt amazing, but it was so overwhelming that it brought me to my knees. And I was just like, what is really taking place? What the fuck is really going on, right? And I remember writing something down because I started to think I was gonna die. I started to write some shit down, and I remember calling my boy on the phone, and I was telling him what I wrote down. And mind you, he was probably high as hell, smoking some weed or whatever, thinking about what the fuck is my boy really talking about right now. And shit, I couldn't really explain either, but all I could tell him what was happening in the best way I could explain. All right, so that was my second experience, right? Second supernatural experience. And the third one, I don't really, people can debate whether this is supernatural or not. I was kind of speculating whether to mention it, but I think it was pretty significant nevertheless. I was actually up in Las Vegas for my 25th birthday. Right, I turned 25. I was out in Vegas. I was having a cool little time. Whatever. Doing the whole, festive thing, right? And I think I was waiting in line or something to use the restroom, right? And there was this dude in front of me. He was a African American dude, and he looked at me, and his look was real piercing, really engaging. You feel what I'm saying? Like it kind of drew me in. But he was in front of me. He wasn't too far away, right? And he was basically just telling me that, he was sent here at this exact time to let me know that I was on the right path. However, you need to shine your light brighter in order to have the effect that you were sent here on this earth to achieve, right? In order to fulfill your purpose in this life, you need to shine love and shine your light a little bit brighter, a lot brighter, right? And he said, he basically told me that he's been watching me, that these beings, right, are always watching, and they always have my back. You feel me? And yeah, I don't really know what to make of it other than that. It was pretty cut and dry. And excuse me, let me see, normal dry, cottons. As you can see, I'm over here doing laundry. I have a life like everybody else. And so yeah, man, that was really real cool, and it wasn't as supernatural as the other experiences I had, but it was pretty as I said, significant. So the fourth and final supernatural experience I had was actually very recent. It was on, I can remember the day too, I believe it was the 27th of January 2017. And mind you, if I remember correctly, that is actually the official New Year. Okay, that is the official New Year if you go by the lunar calendar and measure the years based on the lunar cycle. So I was home and I was with my daughter. And I want to also say that all these experiences I was completely sober. You know, there was no type of intoxication of any form, so people can't say, you know, you were just high, or you were just, you know, whatever, imagining things or hallucinating. No, this was all done in a sober frame of mind. So you can just push that justification under the rug. I was at home and I was with my daughter, and I what's it called? I remember laying down with her. I remember laying down with her, you know, I was putting her down to sleep. And all of a sudden, you know, my third eye and my third ear, most people don't know that, you know, the third ear is something that picks up vibrations around you, just like the third eye can pick up vibrations that you normally wouldn't see. It's the same concept. Both of these components of my vehicle, god damn, I can see the steam in the reflection. Oh goodness. Both of these components of my vehicle activated, you know, or started to awaken a little bit, because my daughter was asleep and, you know, she was falling asleep, and I was looking at her, and I remember looking at her ear, like right above her ear, like kind of, you know, that gap right here in between the top of the ear and her head. And I remember looking at her, and I remember like feeling as if my eyes were just opening up, and this whole area was opening up. And I recall seeing like a portal, you know, like as if something was literally just opening up, and above her ear it was like a universe. It was like a black hole, if you will, but I could clearly see that it was majestic and magical, and, you know, filled with crazy lights. You know, I mean, the only thing that I could really compare it to, you know, was something I'd see in space, like a nebula, a galaxy, you know, filled with stars and planets and, you know, cosmos and things of this nature. It just looked like a portal. You know, that's the easiest way I could put it. And then the more I was able to focus on it, the more I saw that it was opening, and the more enchanting and the more blissful it became. And in addition to that, excuse me, in addition to that, my third ear, right, was picking up vibrations that normally I wouldn't be conscious of. See, the thing is that the third eye, pineal gland, and third ear, I mean, there's so much more around us that we can consciously pick up or detect. All right, see, everything you think that is standing still is actually moving and has a vibratory tone to it. So it's actually making a sound, but we just can't hear it. And I heard kind of like a whoa, 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 whoa. It was like, if anybody has listened to binaural beats, that's what it sounded like. It sounded like, you know, I was hearing some frequencies that, you know, really consciously I wouldn't have been aware of. And I remember just laying there, and I was just embracing it, you know, and I remember being so like grateful, you know, and humble and excited that it was taking place right where my daughter was, because, you know, my daughter is to a certain degree my creation, you know, and I saw that there was another layer to her creation you know, outside of her vehicle or inside of her vehicle. You know, I can't really put it into words for everybody to understand, but it wasn't unpleasant at all. It was actually very exciting, very relieving, and I was reassured that the supernatural definitely does exist.